Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI World Championship. We're today for the Spanish Grand Prix, the second round of the season, and we see a few familiar faces return. We also see Heisler currently topping the times, and Zingy will not be getting a lap in qualifying, unfortunately. A few issues has occurred, so we will have to be restarting, not only for Zingy but also for myself as the host. So to be safe for everyone, we will do this restart, which is a big shame. But we see Devon Young come back. We see Becken returning as a reserve, which is good to see them in. We see Simaxon come here for their debut in the Racing Bulls car. They're currently doing a crossover, as Frantic is, with the F1 and F1.5 Championship. We'll see which tier they go for permanently in the future, of course. But Heisler currently topping the times, Nifo in P2 by a very small margin. Then we've got Ricky, who's about 2/10 behind exactly from Heisler. In fact, Devon Young doing a very good job to jump into their Red Bull after a long old time out of it, and be pretty competitive. We're going to go and see if we can hop on board with Becken, as they will cross the line to set their next lap of the session. 5 minutes on the clock, plenty of time to go. DRS and across the line, it'll be a P7 for now. Simatson will go across the line themselves, and they will not improve, or they're going to go again possibly. We'll just see what they're doing. No, they don't improve position wise, so they will stay P11 for now, just behind Igor, ahead of JJ on his way out on track at the moment. We do have Ricky, who is, I believe, going to be the next car. Next, Tom Robb will be the next car. No, it is Ricky that will be the next car to set a lap. So we'll go on board with this man right here, who did some very good driving in Monza. Unfortunately got a time penalty and didn't maximize the result, but a lot of people did, and they were able to be in the mix. So I cannot wait to see what they can do this season. It looks very good for Red Bull. It looks very good. Peanuts was driving permanently for Red Bull last time around, but made a switch to the Haas team, and because of the before or just after round one switch that we've done in the past, you are able to convert your Constructors' Championship points if only one race has taken place. If two races have taken place, then you can't change it. So Peanuts will take those points to Haas, and Devon Young will take that permanent seat at Red Bull. Now, coming through the next few sectors, it was a slight mistake, I believe, was it through turns 7 and 8, and they've decided to back off the lap and not continue it, so they will give that one up. Tom Brainer also not happy with that lap. They're going to go in for some fresh tyres and go out again one more time in a few moments' time, as we of course don't have too long to go. It is a very short lap, however, so we can definitely get some very late runs in. We've got Senna out on track right now, as well as JJ. JJ comes around the final corner. What's it going to be? It's going to be the pit lane for the British driver, the Dutch driver, with Senna in the Williams pulling it to the right hand side to minimise track distance. They go up the hill, and they're also going to probably be doing the same thing. Not in the race as much. You want to be saving tyres a little bit. They go down the hill nicely, get the car rotated through, and then on the throttle on the exit, up to 4th, up to 5th, up to 6th, probably not up to 7th. Getting the car slowed down through the chicane, which is incredibly difficult in this game. The car is just so unstable. They go up the hill nicely and then head towards the hairpin. DRS down this straight, braking around 100, maybe even 90 meters, pulling it to the right hand side to open up the steering a little bit, also trying to minimize track distance. And you come around the final 3 corners, and only one more corner to go, moving slightly right to avoid the bump in qualifying that can really affect you. Holding it in 6th gear, DRS, what's it going to be for the Williams driver? That's a P5, and that's a very good lap, a .894. Very, very, very close to Devon Young right there. Almost was able to get him, and yeah, the top few drivers right now are incredibly close to one another. Pole position to P6 is only 4/10 away, and then it doesn't really go too much further down the order as well, so it's all very close at the moment. Of course, we don't see Zingy in this session, unfortunately. Hopefully we can see them get a good result later on and see them do some good driving later on, but it does mean that they will be starting in 13th, and they will not be improving. 1 minute on the clock, just under 2 minutes on the clock, and everybody will be coming up for their final runs. Igor is currently on their last lap of the session. As it stands, I say that, they're actually going for another warm-up lap, and they will get the lap done in a minute, so they must have backed off on this one. So we will see, would that be a Red Bull go for their lap first? We'll see Devon Young going across the line, as Igor won't be setting the lap before Devon. So we will watch on board, who unfortunately invalidates, but does have time to get back. You're very lucky to be able to get that done. They should be absolutely fine. Now it is going to be Igor to set the lap. So we'll go back to the Serbian driver in the Aston Martin, and Aston Martin are going to be very happy. I'm sure he's very proud to be driving that car with Adrian Newey on the way. For the next few games, obviously it wouldn't affect anything performance-wise in the game, but it's a nice feeling to have, of course. Moving to the left, braking around the 50, just after or just before, depending on preference. Bring it to the right-hand side on the traction. They feed the steering through nicely. Very hard to get the car slowed down through the hairpin. They do it quite nicely with minimal locking up. That's Becken finishing the session early. So Senna, of course, they set their lap. That's P5 or lower for them. They will not be able to improve. Igor goes up the hill. DRS over the sector line into the braking zone. And it's going to be a 10th up right now. So they're going to be able to get ahead of Frantic. They do need a little bit more time if they want to get ahead of Becken. Can they even try and find a bit more in this final sector? And look at going for Peanuts. They pull to the right-hand side as well to avoid the bump. Final corner, DRS, and they go across the line. What's it going to be for the Aston Martin? And it will be ahead of Peanuts in the end. So close to Tom Brainer, but even closer to Peanuts. They did a very good job to get that one done. We've got Tom Robb going over the curb, unfortunately, will lose out on that lap. That is going to be an invalidation from Ricky. Devon Young also invalid. It's going to be Nifo Jan. We're going to see Heischler go and set their lap first to try and defend their current pole position. What can the McLaren driver do? DRS, as I've said, they've run out of battery on the end, but they've managed to improve by half a tenth. Nifo has got a couple more corners to go. Will the other Dutchman be able to look at it? These guys were fighting hard for pole. It was Heischler who took pole position in Monza. Who will it be in Spain? And it will be Heischler. Heischler looks at taking pole, and I think they'll get it. Simaxson could try and take it away, but it does look like they're unfortunately a little bit off away from the leaders, and that will be their session done. But that is a brilliant position, a brilliant time there for Heischler. A brilliant effort from Nifo to try and get that done. But the only drivers to be in the 0.5s right there is Heischler and Nifo, and Heischler makes it a pole position once again in LSI to try and see if they can get their first LSI F1 win. They've got an F1.5 win, they just haven't got that F1 main race win. They've got a sprint race win in F1, but it would be definitely good to see that done today. Ricky, P3, the top three for his home Grand Prix, looking to try and get a good result himself as well. Alrighty, that one is done. We'll get the results on the screen in a few moments' time, and then we will have to go for that lobby restart. Unfortunately, it shouldn't take us too long. We'll get the grid all sorted, and then we'll be ready to go as soon as we can. That's Heischler taking pole position, Nifo in P2, then we've got Ricky in P3. That's the grid, and the race director is as on the screen. We'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye. Ready, hold. Go! Who's going to get it into turn one? We are underway. Nifo to the inside, Heichler to the outside line. It looks like he gets away well. That's a car off already. Igor is out of the Grand Prix and the safety car is deployed immediately. Someone else has got damage further up the field. I don't know who that was, but there was a front wing just going flying. It looks like that's not Senna, that's Devon Young having a bit of damage. I don't know what happened there, but Igor already gone at the line, and Ricky is down to P6 as well, so they must have had a big problem at the start, and unfortunately there's not really much we can do about that. Looking at the tyre situation, I don't want to look at that. I want to look at the grid situation, as Devon does improve and Ricky does go down the order, so it wasn't just a bug or anything, but Igor really not having a good start at all, and it took absolutely no time. Already out of the Grand Prix. All of that waiting around, and they're already out. The safety car's deployed. Everybody's going to be looking at a very interesting strategy. Would they try and go all the way to the end on a set of hards? Probably not, no. Would Sir Maxon try and pit to a different tyre? Possibly. They've got a bit of an interesting situation going on when they've just lost 2 positions to some other cars. I don't quite understand what happened there, but we'll see what they're going to do. Are they going into the pit lane for a fresh set of tyres? They're not, but we will see pit stops from the Haas and the Red Bull. That's Devon Young and Peanuts. So Peanuts must have had damage. Maybe that's why there was some switching up. I don't quite know. We'll have a look and see on board. Of course, Devon did have that damage. Hopefully, the Red Bull crew do repair that wing. We won't see a front wing repair for Peanuts. It's not to say that they don't have front wing damage. It might just be that the game didn't actually repair it. So we'll have a quick look and stay on board. But they go and put the medium tyres on, does Peanuts. No front wing damage it displays. For Devon, they did repair the wing, so that's good. He's going to be looking to try and go for as long as he can on a hard tyre, and maybe go to the mediums later on, which could work. It's not what he wants to do, because obviously he's just qualified and now he's all the way at the back of the pack, so it's all virtually pointless. Zingy didn't actually make any overtakes on track. He's only ever gained positions this race so far from other cars pitting. Heichler leads the way with Nifo in P2. Senna getting a brilliant start to P3, and Tom Rob also up to P4. So those cars managed to do a brilliant job. Ricky is lucky, of course, that Devon Young had to pit and give him a position, but yep, he's had a bit of a strugglesome start. The safety car is already in as everybody is bunched up, and we are going to be going once again in a few moments' time. Heichler leads the way, and Nifo will be the one to react. The safety car is heading towards the final corner around about now. We can go racing at any point at this moment. When will he go for that restart? When will Nifo react? Is he going to go? He goes for it early, very early. That's brilliant. Nifo reacts fairly well as well, and we are once again racing in Spain. He pulls to the inside, goes to the outside to try and break the toe as they restart the Spanish Grand Prix. Is anybody else going to be a little bit close? We do see Frantic very close to the back of the Sauber. No moves for them, but Simaxon will go for the move over on JJ as they've got that soft tyre and they're trying to make it work. Becken, it turns into a ghost car, pulling to the inside and making use of this grip is the Racing Bull. Simaxon makes it work as well. That's Zingy trying to go for the move and follow the Racing Bull ahead. That is a bit of ghosting as Becken can't really be seen at the moment, having some lag issues it seems. Zingy makes the move and JJ's going to be looking to try and get that one done as well. Hopefully Becken's all good and can be back in this race, but just having a little bit of an issue with a bit of damage as well. Maybe that was where they lagged together, Zingy and Becken, I'm not entirely sure. But back up the front of the field, Heichler leads the way with Nifo and Senna closely behind. It's a Dutch 1-2-3 with Tom Robb making a change right there, and the home man in P5 looking to try and get a good result, luckily with no damage. We've got Frantic, who I thought was going to have a look at a move a few moments ago. Now they actually are under threat of possibly being overtaken by Samaxon, who's got this soft tyre. But is that soft tyre going to be good enough? Is it going to be able to last in this race? Zingy is going to think otherwise, because in a straight line, it doesn't matter what compound you're in as much. But he doesn't go for the move into the braking zone. He used a lot of battery to try and make some progress, but not really making as much as he would have liked. Only actually has made 2 overtakes, one being a ghost car, just not able to make a move on this soft tyre runner right now. It's incredibly difficult. Devon Young is behind. We're going to go back to this though, as he goes for the switcheroo to the inside line, the dummy I should say, and tries to make it work. Simatson is forced wide and just has to give that position up. It's just about how you do it, and he will be right now in P7, but Simatson's looking very racy and might try and give it another shot into the braking zone of 10. Nope, they're just going to let it go. Zingy's even able to save, and these guys will try and work together and see if they can catch up a little bit more. What I wanted to say is that Devon Young is not having the best time. Of course, they're on a hard tyre compared to everybody else who are on softer compounds, all in a train. Now, because we're in such a big train, it might help, but Becken is very close to losing DRS. DRS will be available this lap. We could see Nifo go for the move. If they get pressured by Senna, it could all change. Will we see Senna also go for the move on the McLaren driver? No, they back off. They don't need to. They don't have pressure from behind. They're good to go. We don't see anybody else making any moves at the moment. Very straightforward for the top 2 as they make it work once again. Now, they're just going to make sure that they don't get a time penalty. Does Heichlern? They can definitely compete for this win. Of course, Nifo almost got that win, but Ticey just about got it. Senna, the only Williams on the track right now, as Ticey isn't able to make it, so looking to try and get a good result for the team, and so far, so good right now. We've got Zingy, who is in P7, close to Frantic, making that gap up that they had a little bit earlier on. We've got Peanuts and Becken switching positions, but there is a bit of a gap now, so DRS actually has been lost. It's going to be Zingy going for the move into the hairpin. A bit of a send it looked like, as he was all the way to the right hand side of the circuit. Frantic doesn't really fight it too hard, however, so that was an interesting one. I would have liked to have seen that, but oh well, we move on, and so does Zingy. They move on, and they're looking to try and make even more progress if they can. Are we going to see any more switchings? I don't know. We will see the top 2, but other than that, I think it's going to be pretty much straightforward. We are going to get Devon Young and JJ making a changes. JJ will now be at the back of the pack despite being on that medium tyre. Devon Young making that progress, hoping to get DRS off of Becken and just have minimal damage to their race right now. 1.3 seconds is the gap that Peanuts has, pushing on nicely, doing a good job. They might be able to make use of the soft tyre not going to be dropping off, but that being said, by the time Peanuts catches Simatson, would it be basically impossible, and Simatson would have lost DRS to the cars ahead. Right now, the Racing Bull does seem to have just about made it, and Peanuts does catch a little bit, but when he gets that DRS, it's just going to break away again. So Peanuts has got a lot of hard work to do right here. Becken has also lost DRS to the cars ahead. That is going to be Ricky and Zingy. Zingy makes the move again in that third sector, I should say, into the hairpin. It looked like Ricky wasn't entirely happy, as they wanted to try and have a quick look to the inside. I say unhappy, they just wanted to see if they could get it back at all, but they let it go, and Zingy makes his way to P5. The team's championship leaders, now Nifo being one of them, goes into the lead, and it's going to be Ricky who wants to have another go at going for the move right here. He forces Zingy into an awkward line. Zingy stays on the battery for a moment, but is still getting a good enough exit to not worry about it too much. You can see everybody pull to the right to minimize track distance and gain all the lap time they possibly can out of the tyre. They've got to be careful about this later on. Those tyres can wear out quickly if they work them too hard. Turning left is very easy because the right hand side tyres don't really wear too much. You can put a lot of load on those sides or that side, but if you want to turn right, it's a little bit more difficult, and those cars going through turn 3, also going through turn 4, they've got to be very careful in how they drive that car, because it's going to get very slippy, and definitely very slippy at turn 9, the fast right-hander, just after that DRS straight that we've just gone through. That's going to be very treacherous as well. So is this final few corners, or the final traction zone right there, because it's flat from this point onwards all the way to the line and all the way to the first corner. Once again, we're probably going to see a switch up between the top two as Heisler and Nifo are continuing to try and make this work nicely. And not really worrying about it too much. The pit window is going to be on its way at some point. Now, Nifo is leading the Mercedes drivers. That's going to be Tom Robb going very wide, but just about keeping it together. That is impressive. Whenever I've seen cars go off to that red section of the circuit, they are gone. They just completely lose it. But today, it seems to have just about worked for Tom Brainer, and they keep it together. The two controller players, Tom Robb and Zingy, right there, P4 and 5. As Zingy continues to try and do what they can to catch up to their teammate. But as I was just about to say, well, as I was saying, Nifo's the lead Mercedes driver. I'm going to be looking at priority for the pit window right now, which is going to be super strong for them at the moment. The McLarens are not really on the same pit strategy, so they don't need to worry about mixing up. Senna doesn't need to worry about mixing up, neither does Tom, because they don't have teammates, either of those guys. Ricky and Devon, they have different pit windows. Frantic and Peanuts might have an interesting pit time, but it is basically the Mercedes that are going to be the ones in trouble. So it's finally that Nifo's ahead right now. That's the first 3-second time penalty. It's also going to be Zingy going for the move on Tom Robb, and they make it as they go up the hill. We'll see Ricky watching that happen just up ahead. Isn't able to go for the move as well. That is JJ, unfortunately, going a little bit slowly through that final sector, but they are good to go. They should be good to go. Now, Nifo leads the way, and the pit window will be somewhat on the horizon. We're going to still have about 5 laps, I reckon, until we start to actually see people go into the pit lane. It shouldn't be happening too soon. We've of course got a few cars in very different situations strategy wise. Unfortunately, JJ having more issues, so they go into the pit lane. We got Becken with their connection issues and a bit of damage, which really doesn't help. They haven't pitted, but yeah, they're going to have to get that wing repaired. Of course, Devon having their problems with that hard tyre at this stage. That is JJ retiring in the pit lane, our first retirement of the evening. Peanuts goes and gets themselves a time penalty. And I wanted to say, yeah, Devon will be able to catch up a little bit later on. But with that very difficult strategy, it might not be too easy. We're going to get a switch up between the lead. We're also going to get a look at making a move from Zingy. But actually, it ends up being Senna going for the move, as Heisler was trying to give up the position. Oh, and he's made contact as he goes slightly wide. Tom Brainer has to take avoiding action and moves down the order. I don't think Frantic's going to be involved in any of this, but it's side by side with Heisler and Ricky. Ricky's trying to make everything they can possibly out of this situation. Heisler just trying to back off and maintain that P2. All of a sudden, Senna came through. Zingy managed to find the momentum as well. Luckily, that's just where about it stopped, as he wasn't able to get through was Ricky. Heisler's a very lucky man right there. A bit of an understeering moment right there, as they were at the mercy of Zingy. Zingy was ahead and just kind of taking their line, and they had to move accordingly. So very lucky to not spin that car, and very well avoided from Tom Brainer as well, who once again goes to the outside of the circuit and somehow keeps it in a straight line. Very impressive stuff. The pit window will be on its way at some point soon. Now the question is, will we see Nifo lead the way on this lap? Will Senna go for the move? Or will we see Zingy try and get into the lead of the Grand Prix and be ahead of their teammate for the pit window? That could be something very interesting. There's going to be some teammate politics going on right now. Is Zingy going to try and prioritise himself in that situation? It could be possible. As it stands, Nifo would be leading the Drivers' Championship, but if Zingy can get ahead, it could look a little bit different. It would still be very close, but that would be interesting. We are only on a lap 11. I need to be a little bit more patient with my comments right there. But Nifo leads the way. Senna in P2 as Heisler makes that mistake, but Heisler is still in the battle, and they're very close. They're not going to be counted out at any point soon. The top 7 are running on their own. Then we've got Peanuts in P8. They've got Devon Young, who's made these made the kind of pace switch on this hard tyre. That soft tyre has been running for a long time, but just doesn't have the pace anymore. They're doing a good job to be where they are at the moment. Peanuts is ahead right now of their old rival from F1.5, but Devon is going to be looking to make that move this time around. We're going to see Senna forced into a move by Zingy. Zingy forcing Senna to make that move ahead of his teammate, and I'm saying Zingy's teammate, which is an interesting one, just pushing Senna to go for that overtake. They didn't really have a choice. Senna's now leading the Grand Prix for the first time, and will lead for the first time in LSI, and then we will see LSI F1. Heischler still sitting in P4 and watching a complete lead change. The man that they were trying to hold on to P2 from is now in P1 of the entire race. So things did change, of course, but they do only have a few cars ahead of them right now. Zingy saving a bit of battery, looking to maybe go for this move on Senna. I reckon what's going to happen is that Nifo's going to be charging to go for the move on Senna, and then Zingy's also going to do it. So they're both going to blast their battery, but if they're 1-2 as a team and they're working together, they're both communicating with one another, that could be powerful. There's a bit of a mistake as they went out the final few corners right there from Nifo. Zingy closed up. It's going to be an interesting situation here. If Nifo doesn't go for the move, his teammate will come through as well. It's going to be the lead, and we are going to see what I expected. Zingy goes to the inside line. They will not challenge their teammate, but it will be a Mercedes 1-2, and Senna will just have to watch that happen and will not be able to make anything work. That was executed to perfection right there from these guys. We've got Heischler, who is right behind Ricky, with Tom Rob and Frantic, who have dropped back a little bit. They've got DRS just about, but they need to push a little bit harder. We get a time penalty right there. That's going to be sent around. No, what's happened there to Senna? They've lost the car. They drop back even further. It must have been contact maybe with Zingy and Senna, as Zingy also goes behind Heischler. It's going to be Ricky and Senna who go side by side for a few moments. It means that everybody catches back up. Ricky's not happy as he moves left and right a little bit. It was very, very pushy and shovey, and all of a sudden everything's changed completely again. Tom Rob and Frantic are safely back into DRS, but Nifo leads the way, and Heischler welcomes himself back into P2, decides to take this as a perfect opportunity to use this trap position and go into the pit lane. They're going to make that call. Senna goes and gets a 3-second time penalty in the meantime at the final corner. They're now P3, and they're going to be pressured by Ricky, who is going to try and make that move. He sees if Heischler's going for the move into the pit lane, and I'm going to need to try and get some trap position here if I want to go into the pit lane. They've got to be incredibly careful though now, as they see 8 tenths. Zingy will be seeing that. He'll be saying, Nifo, right now we have to push. We might be able to break away from the cars behind. I know we haven't pitted, but there is an opportunity. I think Ricky's doing enough at this point though to be able to hold on, and they will get that DRS. You can see Zingy saving on the ERS. It was a theory that could have worked, but it won't really work well enough, unfortunately. We've got Heischler, who comes out in P9, only a short moment away from Devon Young. So of course they had their issues with the lap 1 situation getting damaged, but they're currently the net race leader right now. They do have a time penalty. Heischler will be catching to Devon. Will we see any other cars go into the pit lane as well, or are we going to see something completely different? Zingy does go into the pit lane. I don't think that's the right call. I don't think that's the right call. I think they should have gone a little bit longer. I don't quite know. That's a 10-second for Tom Rob for speeding in the pit lane, unfortunately. That is big. That's going to affect him massively. Everyone into the pit lane except from Nifo, from the top 7, and all of a sudden it's all completely changed. Peanuts doesn't pit. They stay out right now. And Devon will continue to lead this situation. It will be Zingy right behind as well. But Devon's going to be holding up the pack right here. This could be interesting. That's why I didn't think they should pit. Zingy didn't come out too far behind, but they will be able to easily catch, as Devon isn't going to go anywhere and Heischler is going to have a bit of a hard time to try and get past a car that is on a current strategy. This is racing for position right now. Nifo, as I said, I don't think it was a good idea. Maybe it was a good idea to make that a pit stop. They're going to go for a bit of a fresher tyre situation, which could work out nicely. I think Peanuts has just got to stay out on their tyre right now. They've just got to try and make this work. Of course, they've already made that pit stop earlier on. Where will Nifo come out in this race? They make big contact with the wall as they brake a little bit too late. I hope that's not damage on that car. Please do not say there's damage on that car. We'll have a look, and there isn't. That is incredible. That is incredible. There may be incredibly light damage, which could be interesting. It could be interesting, but they should be good to go for now. It's going to be Heischler making that move on Devon Young. Devon isn't willing to let it go too easily. The cars behind are a bit too far back. We're going to see Nifo racing Ricky on pit exit. They've got cold tyres. Ricky's going to make that move. I think Nifo's going to have to make that and just let it go, to be honest. Maybe even Senna will just have to go through. They might have to let that one go. No, Senna will not fight it, and they're just going to try and work together. But they've currently got Ricky with a 2.1 second gap. Devon has been cleared by Zingy and Heischler, who are on much fresher tyres. They've done exactly what they needed to do right now. Heischler now leads the way, and in a decently comfortable way right now. Of course, they've got Zingy to hunt them down, but Devon isn't going to be able to hold on for too much longer. They would have to try and fight. DRS will kick in at some point for Ricky when Devon obviously has the pace disadvantage on this tyre, but I think by the time that's the case, then the top two will break away, and they've managed to pull an absolute blinder right there. I don't know what happened to Ricky. It must have been a pit stop situation where a car in between pitted and the gap got a little bit bigger. Nifo obviously has whatever issues they've had. Now their tyres are nice and warm, and they're going to be looking to make this move on Ricky to try and see if this DRS trick can work. They're going to get Senna also going for the move, as they'll try and be P2 in the current train that they've got, as Ricky lets that go as well. Senna with a time penalty, Devon with a time penalty, Tom Robb with a 10 second, of course, but everybody is trying their absolute best to try and catch up. 2.1 seconds is the gap that splits the top three between the next few cars to make now what was the top seven, the top eight effectively, because Devon Young is on this strategy, and they're actually doing a very good job of holding this pack right now. When would they go for their next pit stop? I don't quite know. I think they're probably going to try and go as long as they can, to be honest, and hope for a safety car, and then maybe just have to go for that fastest lap at the end of the Grand Prix. We'll see how that goes. Nifo will be catching. Of course, he is doing a very good job, and Heischler and Zingy aren't really pushing too hard. Peanuts goes into that pit lane and will promote everybody their original positions, and Simaxon will be looking to come out ahead of Peanuts here, and we won't see too much changing, although Senna now goes for the move ahead of Nifo in the meantime. That is a fresh set of mediums. It will be Simaxon going ahead, but it's going to be some decent fresh tyres right there for the Swedish driver looking to try and catch up to the Polish driver in the Racing Bull. Becken unfortunately having whatever issues they're having, but it's good to see them back. They can get some experience in that car and see if they can compete a little bit later on. Maybe even if there was a late safety car, they'll definitely be back in this battle. They are a very quick and talented driver, just need a little bit more time in the car and they'll be good to go. In the meantime, the top three are where they are. Obviously, time penalties are looking a little bit difficult. 3 seconds for both Devon, Senna, Peanuts, 6 seconds for Becken, and 10 seconds for Tom Robb. But other than that, everybody's very close. Since then, however, Senna's made that move. Nifo's in P5, but the gap has extended between them and the top three. Nifo will make that move and try and get a nice slingshot. Will Ricky do the same? Ricky will do the same, and it almost looks like he's going to go for the move. He's going to go side by side and try and outbrake Nifo into the first corner, and he will lead in the end. So P2 in the train still is Nifo, still P5 into the next corner. They probably weren't really expecting that. Ricky is going defensive as Nifo is having a quick look. He went back to the racing line to make sure he kept it nice and quick. But 2.6 seconds, these guys have really got to try and make some effort to catch up to the top three, I should say. They don't necessarily need to push at this point because the cars behind are fighting so much. And what is quite mind-boggling is that we've had issues and more issues. That is going to be Becken pulling out the virtual safety car, and Devon Young, if he's lucky, is going to get a decent pit stop. They're going to have to go for this medium tyre if they want to make this work. I mean, is it the ideal pit window? Kind of. It kind of is. I think they've got to give it a shot. Why wouldn't you go for that risk, of course? So they go into the pit lane. That medium tyre will be what they plonk on. They're going to save a decent amount. It's not going to be, of course, a safety car that we had earlier on in this Grand Prix, but it is going to be sometime, and they'll be getting back out nicely. It's also Ricky into the pit lane, interestingly. They've had to stack with their teammate. I don't quite know why Ricky went into the pit lane there. Maybe they thought it was a full safety car. That's possible. That's an interesting one. But DRS is enabled as soon as they go to the pit lane exit, so they lose minimal time. But they did lose out a lot of positions. Simaxon is up ahead of Devon. Devon's getting their tyres warmed up, and they'll try and see if they can make a bit of a dent to the cars ahead and put that pressure on, of course. It does mean that now Nifo has been promoted to P3. And that means he's going to be trying to catch up directly to his teammate. 3.4 seconds is the gap now, of course, as Devon has put a bit of a hole in that original gap, so it's not like it's extended or retracted too much. Now, Senna behind Nifo with Tom Robb, they are going to be trying to catch up to the Mercedes and the McLaren of Heischler. But Frantic, 1.3 seconds back, just not getting a very good virtual safety car restart. They've got a lot of work to do right here. They've got a lot of work to try and catch up to these guys. Senna sits behind, but then goes for the move on Nifo. As they do their best, 3.5 seconds. The top two, once again, as we saw in Monza, looking to break away. Doesn't mean that the next pack can not catch up for sure. We saw it happen. The pack behind did catch up nicely to Zingy and Ticey. 3.3 seconds. It depends on how this goes. Currently they're both saving quite a decent amount and just relaxing with this car, or with their cars. They don't need to push. I say that. Heischler goes over the curb, loses the car a little bit. I don't think they would have got a track limit for that. It's going to be Devon making progress ahead of the Racing Bull, who has a big moment and just about keeps it in a straight line. That is car control and a half. Well done to keep that pointing the right way. They might be lucky to still hold on to DRS if they can as they go through the next few corners, but Devon getting those tyres warmed up. 8.9 seconds now to not quite the lead pack, but effectively the lead pack. They do have a 3 second to try and also make work, which is slightly frustrating. But it's what they'll just have to deal with, of course, later on. Devon goes and puts the fastest lap in, as they are on an incredible tyre at the moment. 8.6 seconds, as I said. Ricky then goes and beats that immediately, the two Red Bulls trying to make this work. I am very confused at why Ricky's gone into the pit lane. I think maybe was it a misjudgment of what the yellows were. They saw their teammate go into the pit lane, thought maybe it was a safety car. It's easily done, but obviously no other cars did it, so they were hoping that this tyre would maybe be a bit faster and catch up to the cars ahead, and it might be. This hard tyre, you know, it will be able to go to the end, but it might be so dead that they are just going to be struggling. That being said, the medium tyre does have a pretty hard drop off. This game, when you get to about 30%, you start to lose quite a bit of grip. Of course, when you get to the 60% range, then you are pretty much finished and you have no chance at all compared to the hard tyre, at which point right now for Devon and Ricky, where the crossover point would be, I don't know, but they don't need to worry about it right now. They can be good to go. Senna once again makes that move as Nifo and Senna just switch positions throughout, and they've got Tom Robb for the ride at the moment. As these guys try and make it work, they do catch up a little bit to Zingy and Heischler in the meantime. Zingy's not made a move on Heischler at all. They're not really in a rush to. That's maybe an effort to try and get their teammate back into the battle, possibly. After all, Nifo, he's got two cars around him that have time penalties, so it's not really like they're in a pressured situation. Frantic isn't in DRS range. They do not have a time penalty, but yeah, no good of not having a time penalty, but being out of the train in this scenario. That being said, they would actually be close enough to be able to get that move on Tom Robb as it stands, although that's going to keep extending with Tom Robb having DRS being in that train. Making that move on Senna, however, would be a bit of a different story. Senna's doing a very good job to catch up here to Zingy and Heischler, and as I said, it could be that Zingy's just trying to not make a DRS train work by staying behind Heischler, letting him do all the hard work with the tyres, and that means that his teammate can catch up after all, as Nifo will go for that move and make this strategy work with the DRS train, of course. You can see Devon in the background right there trying to catch up, 7.2 seconds. We're going to have a quick look at the gap between Devon and the race leader. You've got 13.8 seconds right now, so 16.8 seconds overall if you count the time penalties. Then you've actually got to overtake cars as well, which is a different story in itself. If Devon can catch up to Frantic and maybe look at making a move, then Frantic could work together with Devon to try and catch up. They are on similar tyres to the other hard tyre runners that are in front of them, so they shouldn't have a pace disadvantage necessarily, unless they've really battered their tyres. But yeah, they should be good to go to catch up. Tom Robb gets another 3-second time penalty, unfortunately, and that does make it very difficult for them to be able to be ahead of Frantic. Almost impossible right now. They almost managed to get that 3-second gap to Frantic, but with Devon Young catching up, it could change. That's going to be Becken retiring in the pit lane, and there will not be a safety car pulled out right now. We're going to see Senna go for that move again. We'll once again see Zingy not go for the lead of the Grand Prix. It's going to be Senna letting that happen, but then returning the position immediately to Nifo. Not happy with their pace, just letting it be. They've got half battery. They weren't really too off, but Nifo seems to be pushing quite a lot with their battery. 2.2 seconds at the moment. And it is working right now, as we saw in Monza, of course. It is going to change things up, but all of a sudden, you look at the lap counter, and there are barely any laps to go in this Grand Prix. So Heischler leads the way, Zingy in P2. These guys are going to be battling, but if they battle too hard, which they will be doing at some point in this race, the cars behind will be catching, and maybe Nifo can get a sniff of a victory, as they were leading for a decent amount earlier on. They are really pushing that car right now. Those tyres start to get to their end point, and this is where Devon Young will be catching quite a decent amount to the cars ahead. Will they be able to keep their tyres in the window to be able to just consistently bring the gap down? 12.7 seconds. They've gained just over a second in the last couple of laps. It's going to be Senna going for that move ahead of Nifo, and he's going to now try and catch up to the cars ahead. 2.4 seconds. They've still got a bit of work to do right now. As I said, it could all change if these guys battle. It could all change indeed. But lap 26 out of 33, we haven't got too long to go anymore. 8 laps, more or less, of this race to go. And it's starting to get to crunch time. It's getting to a point where you really have to think about it. You're in the middle of the race. You just get in a rhythm and you just drive the car. But now you get towards the end stage and you have to think of the final few laps. You have to think, okay, where am I going to be? Where do I want to position my car? What do I want my ERS to look like? What do I want my tyres to look like? How far behind the car do I want to be to give myself the best chance? And most importantly, what lap Do I want to get the overtake done and hope that the other car can't re-overtake me? Or do I want to put them into a false sense of fighting so that they just start using their battery and making mistakes? I don't quite know. It looks like it's going to be a more traditional overtake here for Zingy to go for it on the last few laps because they are just saving so much. Nifo is going to catch as they get a good old slipstream tow, of course, from Senna. And with Zingy dead on the battery and Heisler probably not really pushing as they don't need to, just pushing a hole through the air, basically Nifo gets a huge advantage. You know, Zingy will be able to communicate that with his teammate as they are going to be very slow on a straight, whereas Nifo's got a bit less drag resistance from the DRS that he's just got from Senna, and there's so much momentum that will catch him back up. All of a sudden, that has gone from well over 2 seconds to 1.6 seconds. I couldn't believe that right there. I went a little bit over the place, and Nifo is really working hard, and I say working hard, working so hard as they go through turn 10 as they did last lap or the lap before that potentially. They've done it again on the rear end. It's very, very difficult to deal with, but they're still closer than they've ever been. Senna's going to be looking to go for a move. Tom Robb isn't really close enough to have any kind of contention on this, but they've got so many time penalties. They just have to kind of hope that the cars ahead don't lose too much time. They don't need to battle this out. They shouldn't battle it out. They have to just sit behind and hope that the cars ahead don't fight too much, unless they see a great opportunity to go for a move, of course. They just want to make sure that they cause at least disruption to try and see if they can get ahead of Frantic. Right now, they're on course to actually be ahead of Frantic. We'll look at the gap, of course, for Devon Young, 11.1 seconds from Heisler. So it's going to look very difficult, and unfortunately Ricky, of course, making that pit stop, it has made it very difficult for them. As of now, Devon Young is doing enough to stay ahead of their teammate position-wise, of course, despite having that time penalty. Simaxon trying to make it work with this soft tyre fastest lap attempt at the end, as they just had a little bit of a strategy misjudgment. I think if they're on a different tyre, they'd have probably been in a pretty good position. Now 1.4 seconds, Senna is closer than ever to the top two, and this is only going to get closer as we reach the final stages of the Grand Prix. Zingy is going to... I thought they were going to have a look at going for the move. They drop off as they can really communicate here with Heisler. Heisler was trying to let Zingy go. He was trying to let Zingy go so that they can break away. But Zingy knows what he needs to do to help his teammate out right now. He just needs to get him back in the pack. And all of a sudden, that major slowdown just means that Nifo, it looks like he's never been anywhere else. He's back in the pack, and you just blink and we're back to lap 5 or whatever, wherever we are with this, lap 9 maybe, I could say, really. Now Heisler still leads the way, of course, but this could definitely change as we reach the latter stages of the Grand Prix. Will Zingy and Nifo also fight it out for position? That is the question. Right now, Nifo leads ahead of their teammate in the championship, but will that be the case? I don't quite know. Nifo was very high up in qualifying. Of course, Zingy having issues, not able to set a qualifying lap. It changed a little bit later with the strategy going in Zingy's favour in the end. Nifo is using the battery, and they're trying to make it a Mercedes 1-2 as all of a sudden Heisler doesn't want to give the position up. It's going to be Nifo going to the inside line almost. It looked like it was going to be 3 wide, but it doesn't end up being. Senna had a look to the outside, but they backed off. They've still got a couple more laps to get this job done if they want to. Nifo tried to make it work. Heisler, the outside line is available. It's not going to be good enough. They'll go a long way round, it looks like, but no. It's going to be Nifo into the back of Heisler, and damage will come to the ring of the Mercedes. Senna's going to go to the inside line of Nifo and wants to make this position work, but they've got a time penalty, so they just have to back off, and all of a sudden it's going to look very, very difficult. They do have both Mercedes in the battle, of course, but that was incredibly confusing. We had had Heischler going through turn 3, maybe had a bit of a misjudgment on the throttle, I don't quite know, and all of a sudden, Nifo was into the back of him. He's still got a left end plate, it's only a right end plate that's missing, so they can make left turns quite nicely, but right turns not so much. There are quite a few right turns around this circuit, you really do need to make that work, but look at the understeer that they get. They go off the circuit, Senna's going to make the move, Tom Rob's going to make the move, and that's going to change things massively. Is Tom Rob actually going to go for a move as well on Senna? I don't think so. There is no reason to do it right now. They're going to be in the DRS of the top two, who are going to be fighting. It's a 1v1 between Zingy and Heischler. Who will win the Spanish Grand Prix? A great comeback from Nifo has been very prematurely stopped, as before we could get to the final few laps, they've got wing damage, and I don't know what to say. What a shame right there for them. It's not what they need. In the meantime, if you look, Ricky is almost within time penalty range of Devon Young. So we've got a little bit of a battle going on back there as well. Frantic's trying to hold on and see if they can get some extra positions. Lap 31 will become lap 32 in a few moments' time as Zingy leads the way. Now, I think he can decide what's going to happen here. He's going to take priority to try and win this race, and if he can just keep everybody close together, then maybe Nifo will be able to make some positions back, and it'd be incredibly impossible to actually go for a move. You've got two time penalty running cars right in between Heischler, of course, so to actually get an extra position is going to be virtually impossible. They've just got to keep it clean, and they can make this a very nice P3, a podium position. It's going to be Senna who's trying to have a look around the outside. I don't know if their time penalty is maybe not legit, and they're going to see if they can get the job done. Heischler's ahead, however, Zingy is going to lead, and they still maintain it. Heischler, I wanted to say, maintains that position as Senna backs out before they get to the mini chicane. That's going to be a big bit of understeer right there for Tom Brainer. Nifo will be able to catch up, but they're not really going to lose too much. They just have to try and hold on, not get a time penalty, and they will secure that podium. But it's all about Heischler versus Zingy. Lap 32, 8 tenths in it. That might just have been enough for Zingy to hold on to this lead into the first corner. Zingy crosses the line, and he's going to head towards turn 1. He moves to the inside to try and break DRS. Heischler will be gaining, will be using, but it's not going to be enough. He gets one more opportunity to potentially have a go at this move as they'll go to turn 9, but I don't think it will work. I really don't think it will work. I think they're going to struggle. They catch up massively though, and all of a sudden they're all the way to the back of that Mercedes car, and both drivers have no ERS. They're not going to be affected by the time penalty runners. It is a straight out battle. It's going to be about turn 10, but actually through turn 5, Heischler makes a mistake, and it's once again extended. The gap is gonna be pretty big, and notoriously not an easy place to overtake in turn 10. You have to be so close, and he's not gonna be close enough. Despite the flashing light being on the back of Zingy's car, it will not make a difference, and Zingy is gonna go from P13, from not setting a qualifying lap, to come round the final few corners into the last sector, and he's gonna win the Spanish Grand Prix. He's not done it yet, but he's done it now. Zingy wins the Spanish Grand Prix. It's going to be Heischler in P2, and Senna takes that P3 on track, but it should be Nifo, who doesn't get the podium after all, as they just made a slight misjudgment. I don't quite know what happened there. I don't know if maybe Samatsa went for that move at all, and he's lost out, but that was incredible. Senna finds their way right there. It's going to be Frantic getting the position over Tom Rob, but Tom Rob was actually lost not only to Frantic, but to Devon and Ricky as well by a little bit more. I don't know if they got another time penalty. Ricky just about misses out to their teammate, but what a switch up. And the order when we crossed the line was looking completely different to what we've got right there. Zingy's going to be incredibly happy with that result. It was going so horribly in qualifying with crashes and bugs, and yeah, it wasn't looking good. But it doesn't matter. The Scotsman has won the Grand Prix. Zingy takes the win, Heisler in P2. Then we've got Senna, Niffo, Frantic, Devon Young, Ricky, Tom Robb, followed by Peanuts with the fastest lap. Then Simax on in P10. Then we had DNFing Becken, JJ, and Egapro on the line. Unfortunately, not even getting to set a lap in this Grand Prix. That's the race director, just in case there's quite a few time penalties that might be needed. And we'll be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Spanish Grand Prix. That was a hell of a race, lots going on in that one. We start the interviews with Niffo, that was a pretty decent qualifying, then a very, very difficult strategy, and then it kind of was a lot of hard work towards the end, and then it just didn't quite go the way you wanted it. Can you take us through your race?
I mean, I think I did everything I needed to in quali. I mean, P2 was good. For my doing, it's my worst track, so I mean, I didn't even expect to be up there. Then I would have had Gijs into turn 1 because I was on his inside and like I was gaining on him every second. Then the safety car immediately comes out, so well, P2 again. And I sit behind him, we just trade DRS to do everything what I need to do. Pit stops come, I just prioritize Zingy because he's actually in the championship for this and not me. Because I'm gonna miss a few, so I'm like, well, you just pit, I'll just sacrifice myself. Still, I drive towards the guys, just work together with Senna for the whole time, and then we finally catch them. And then, yeah, I don't know what I've seen. Like, these guys are just playing like, stupid games, and my ring gets broken because, like, it's so like, even if you expect them to play these games, it's so unpredictable. Because like they're braking, they're like using non-ERS, they're not accelerating, they're lifting. Like I don't know. And then my wing gets broken because of their, well, in my opinion, stupid behavior. And then I get. So my wing's broken, I go into the next corner, I get dive bombed by Senna. So then I'm off position, I need to use all my ERS, he's not giving it back, it's not like he's lifting, I need to use everything. And then, obviously I don't have a wing, so everybody gets past me. But I'm like, okay, well I can still get P3, because these guys have penalties. And then, a guy came out of the pit lane, and he has blue flags, and he just lets everybody go, but me, he stays in front of me for the whole turn 1-2. Then he gets behind me, and then he keeps driving inside of me for the whole lap. I can't concentrate. Like, this guy's just driving inside of me, distracting me, and I lose P3 by a 10th. I have no words. I did everything perfect for 31 laps, I feel like, and then in the last 3, it gets taken away from me, so I'm not happy at all with this.
Yeah, that's that is a difficult one, and I'm sorry that happened. Obviously, there's things you can do in the reports, but other than that, I can't really say too much because I need to see the replay, so I do apologise for the frustrations there. Moving on, whether you'll be there for Singapore or not, is that a circuit that you can go well at?
In the past, but this game is a bit different, so I don't really know, but I'll just keep trying, and hopefully with no last lap antics, I can probably get somewhat of a good result.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you very much, Niffo. Sorry it didn't go the way you wanted it today. A great effort, a great drive, but yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you. And we move on to Devon. Devon, that was very unfortunate on the opening laps. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I don't know what happened. It was all very difficult to see. But you did a pretty good job. You were pretty quick on that hard tyre, even though it was old when the other cars were ahead of you. But just trying to make things work. Were you hopeful that maybe you get a few more positions, or did you know it was just kind of be like what it was?
I think it was difficult to say what the race could become. Obviously, having the issue on turn 1, I guess, was a bit weird. I think everyone slowed down in front of me a bit earlier than I thought they would. You know, I only had 2 cars ahead of me, but for some reason they see the safety car and they want to slow down quite quickly. So that kind of caught me off guard. I think I had a little nudge from behind as well, so that didn't help. But yeah, went on to the hards, and I was kind of struggling to begin with. I don't think I could really get them up to temperature very well. But once I did, I ran on them for a while, and I was kind of hoping that I could get a safety car while I was behind the front two. That would have been like perfect. And then the virtual safety car came out, and for a split second I thought it was a normal safety car. I got quite excited, but unfortunately not. So that's when I pitted. And then yeah, I think, to be honest, I think my pace was good. I had a little like spin randomly in between, like in the middle of the race, and that lost me 13 seconds, I think it was. And considering I think I was only 5 seconds behind the lead pack in the end, I think I did quite well, because I think I would have been with them if I didn't have the spin. So overall, I'm kind of happy with my performance. Obviously, not happy where I finished, but I think I did everything I could with the issues that I had. And yeah, I think qualifying could have gone better as well, actually. I had a few invalidations, but you know what, for my first race back and only really starting to play the game yesterday, I think it's looking good, so yeah.
Yeah, it was a really, really good effort, to be honest. I was not anything to take away from you, but surprised of the experience that you've got in the game, surprised to see you up there. So I can't wait for the future races, whether you'll be there or not. Singapore, it's a very difficult circuit to get used to, a lot of corners, but do you feel like you could do well there?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say right now, because I mean this is the only track I've raced like pretty much with this new handling, so I don't really know. Still, obviously, don't know how to handle the car too well. It's hard to say whether I'm going to do well, but Singapore's a good track. I think I had one of my best league races ever there in F1.5 last season. I think it came down to like 3 temps in the end, so that was good. So fond memories there, but no, I'll definitely be there. But yeah, hopefully I can play the game a bit more this week and make a few improvements, sort of learn how to keep the car on track consistently, and yeah, should be a fun season. The game is interesting, let's say that.
Awesome, well said. And unlucky for turn 1, but you really showed good pace, so thank you very much for your efforts, and we'll see you next time. Well done today, great effort. And we move on to Frantic. Frantic, that was a difficult end to the race. You were in the battle for a long part of it, but just once you lost the DRS, was that from the virtual safety car restart, I guess? It was just kind of game over.
Yeah, wow, what a race. Loki, hoo-ha, worthy, right, Frantic gang, let's go! That was such a tough race, man, oh my days. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm happy with a P5, because I went into the race with 0 practice. I did learn a few things here and there, setup-wise, but also track-wise. So that's going to be useful for tomorrow, so I can't wait.
Fair enough. Fair enough, thank you very much. Well said on that one. Singapore, is that a good circuit for you?
I won't be there on Saturday, but I will race on Friday, so looking forward to it. I haven't raced there yet, so low-key excited. Let's keep pushing, Frantic gang!
Thank you very much. I hope it looks good for you there. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Well done, Frantic.
Yo, appreciate it.
We move on to Senna. Senna, you were up once again. Well, you were right up there as well as Frantic was, but you were there towards the end, working together with Nif and Tomrob in the middle part of the race as well to try and catch up to the pack. It wasn't an easy part of the middle of the race. You really had to, put your head down and focus. But from Monza going into this race, whatever happened on the last laps happened, you have made a big step there. So are you happy with that result?
Yeah, I'm happy with my improvement. I had a good start. Like, I've started to learn to do starts well as well now, which I used to not be able to. Went well, obviously gained a position or two maybe even at the start. Lap 1 safety car, that actually helped me because Devon had to come in. And yeah, just driving with and working together with everyone, and then Zingy came back and spun in front of me. I chose the wrong side, lost me 2 positions in the end, which made me fall back a bit after the pit stops. But we surprisingly came back. I didn't expect us to go back to the front pack. Then the incident with Nifo happened. Like, unlike Nifo said, I actually broke to let him by. So yeah, that's it. But I'm gonna lose my position, so it won't be a podium for me because that's obviously my fault. Yeah, and a good ending, I guess. I didn't expect to drive 3 seconds away from him, but obviously Nif had the issue with blue flag.
Yeah. It was. yeah, a difficult situation. I can't really comment on it, so I'm not going to say too much because I didn't really get to see the full picture of it. But looking at what happened, of course, in Monza, looking to now, you've done a really good job. So I think you should be proud of the performance side of things. Singapore, there's a lot more corners, as I said. Traction zones will definitely be a thing, and it's going to be mostly engine braking because of the slow speed, more than heavy braking for the most part. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, historically Singapore is not one of my best circuits, but I felt like the difference I made today in today's race was also on the traction. So I hope that will help, and I'm just gonna practice a lot more because I'm motivated right now, and I'll just try to do my best and hope for the best.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you very much, Senna. Really good effort today, and we'll see you next time. And we move on to Heisler. Heisler, that was another result that didn't quite manage to get the conversion. A brilliant pole position right there, and so close to getting that P1. Can you take us through your race?
Yeah, I was obviously really happy with my pole. My first sector on my first lap was like a tenth quicker, and I just didn't manage to match that in any of my other laps, even though I got slipstream on one lap from JJ. So it was surprisingly pole. Wait, is my mic actually picking it up?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh, okay. I was confused. Yeah, so I was surprised I got pole in the end. I think Nifo could have got it as well if he just had one or two more corners perfect more. Yeah, the race was fine, I guess. I didn't really push a lot. I had one unlucky moment with the yellow flag of JJ on the start finish straight, which gave me a legal overtake on Nifo, and that costed me the positions to Senna and Singy. Luckily, Singy made a mistake and I got back to P2. It didn't really matter in the end because I was planning on undercutting them either way. And in the end, if I look back at it, it was the right option to do. Me and Singy were just alone on in P1 and P2. But I saw them after the virtual safety car working together and closing up lap by lap, and I thought, okay, Singy is not gonna work together because he has been just chilling behind me for nearly 20 laps. So I knew he would play some kind of games in the end. So I didn't really wanna how do you say it? I didn't really want to play his game, so I took the initiative with it. Yeah, so I left it on the start finish rate, not directly ahead of him, so I didn't brake check him. But that meant the rest caught up, and I knew that would happen, and I knew Singy and Nifo would try to overtake me both at the same time. But I didn't want to let that happen, so I kind of moved slowly over to Singy, which is allowed so far I know. I left him space, and that's caused Nifo to back out. And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna overtake him, I'm just gonna be side by side with him so no one else can overtake me as well. And yeah, we both broke early into turn 4, and that costed Nifo his wing, I believe. I wouldn't say it's brake checking, it's just we broke on the same time, and I believe we both were kind of on the inside, so it's a bit unlucky that he got wing damage. And then I made a mistake on the second to last lap in turn 3, which let Senna try to overtake me, which costed me in the end the chance to overtake Singy into turn 1. I tried to go for it in turn 4 with some ERS, but it was just, yeah, I was just too far back. But yeah, it's getting there, and I believe I didn't even get a P2 last season, so it's already better. Yeah, I think it's gonna, like I said before, it's gonna be a close season.
Yeah, well, you did a really good job, and to be honest, after that fight on the last kind of couple of laps of Senna, then you managed to get that back to a 3/10 gap, so that was awesome to see. Like, yeah, really well done. It's a shame that it didn't go the way you would have wanted it to, but P2, great points for the championship. I couldn't be happier, so well done. Really good job. Singapore, is that a circuit that you like? Do you like it over Spain, or is it just going to be a circuit that you try and get a good result at?
I know Zingy is good at it, so I'm not expecting to win. If I'll be there, I'm aiming for P2 to keep the cap as close as possible. I don't know what race is after it.
That would be Austria after the first break, which would be a sprint race.
Okay. Sprint as well?
With Austria, yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Then I will just try to go for P2. I think in Austria I have way more chance to actually beat him than at Singapore.
Fair enough. Well said. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Heish. Really well done today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Peanuts. Peanuts, it was a difficult one with the strategy. Obviously, the kind of train split, and you were in your own battle. Can you take us through your race?
Yeah, no, as you probably already realized, I was kind of the entertainment of the race. I mean, who cares about the front fight? It was all happening around me.
Yeah.
It started in qualifying with me binning it and just like ramming into pit lane while I was going into pits.
I see. Okay.
It
I wasn't
me.
sure if you were joking about the ego retire. I didn't realise. Fair enough.
No, but it was a clear ego retire. I mean, I just carried a little too much speed into the pit lane, retired the car. I genuinely think I could have qualified P3 if I would have nailed it, but that's just speculation. I know that there was a lot of other people who could have improved too, because I don't think there was a lot of improvement from first lap to second on the drivers, but in the race, I was nowhere. I mean, I had not done any long tire running, so like I think at one point I was like 46% on one side of the tires, and then like 16 on the other. So I need to check that out, and my tire temps were just like super high throughout the whole day.
It's a little bit of a drastic change, I guess, for the tyres, but
Let's go, guys.
it is Spain. I do apologise, guys, for this. I'm going to try and sort that out. It's quite annoying. We carry on, and yeah. Why did you pit on the opening laps?
Well, the first idea was I'm gonna go hard because I knew that I need to try something different to everybody else. I realized everybody else is like on softs, on mediums, so I was like, I need to try something. Like I knew that I didn't have the pace. I knew that I also suck with tire wear, so making the soft or medium to soft work would have been very difficult. So I was like, let's flip the script. Hope for the best. And I pitted lap 1 because I was like, I would lose 2 positions and I would be on the mediums. And mediums is a better strategy on the timing sheet. With like, it is though.
Yeah.
According to the Delta, I think if you would have started on mediums, it would have been like 3 seconds quicker.
I see.
So let's just do the medium. And then at the end, I realized I'm nowhere. And decided to go on to softs. Did the lap of my life. It was so bad. Every corner, I didn't nail a single corner, but somehow just got the quickest lap, which I'm happy about.
Fair enough. I mean, an extra point, of course, that will help. So, yeah, well done, and a good effort to keep it in the race as well. Singapore, do you think you can do well there? Is that a circuit that suits you well, close walls?
The thing is, every circuit would suit me well last game, but this game, nothing suits me. I mean, I think that this would be actually a weakness, because I'm going to be so terrified of hitting the wall. I was definitely underdriving today, because I just like, I don't know, I get into this mentality of just survive. Hope, pray that somebody makes a mistake, and then get a free position. But it's just like, it's too easy for me to make a mistake. Like today, I was nowhere. Like the setup, the temps. I actually stole Devin's setup.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
the two rivals from F1.5 working together in the end.
Well, he doesn't know I stole his setup. It was just like on time trial.
Ah, okay, I see. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. We've got a few more people to go through, so we'll call it there. Thank you very much, Peanuts. Really well done today. Good job on the fastest lap, and hopefully it goes well next time.
Cheers.
And we move on to Tom. Tom, it was difficult with time penalties, but you were definitely with the pack the entire time. Do you think if maybe you didn't have those time penalties, it could have been maybe even a podium?
Definitely. It was a really good evening for me, but I'm still doing rookie mistakes all the time, which is just really annoying. For example, in qualifying, I invalidate my last attempt in, I think it's turn 7 by a few centimeters, which cost me P3 in qualifying. So my best lap was on a used set of soft tires because my first 2 laps were on the same.
I see.
Then in the race, I got a really good start. Went from P6 to P4. Safety car came out, and for some reasons, Sun was allowed to pass me, and I was in P5, which was still okay. Then just try to stay close to the lead pack. I'm quite happy how that worked out. Then I don't know why, but I pushed too hard into the pit lane, broke probably 10th or 2/10 too late, and I don't know why I did. I'm usually making it really secure that I'm going under the speed limit. So that was just really annoying. And with time penalty, the other 3 seconds, I was just pushing too hard in the near flat right, in the second sector. Even though I knew how much I could push, I tried to push it a bit more in 2 laps. Both resulted in stupid track limit. And without these mistakes, P3 would have been definitely possible today.
Fair enough. Well, learning a lesson. Not really too many corners that kind of like be flat and give you a track limit. Maybe the final corner around Singapore. There are other parts of the circuit that could easily get you a track limit. Are you looking forward to that circuit? Do you think that could go well for you? Also, the weather could be a factor in that one.
Singapore was solid track for me on last game. I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the slowest. Don't know how it's going to be in this game. I've driven just a few tracks still, even though I've got a lot of hours in. I need to see how that's working out. But with the weather it could be really interesting because I feel like I'm solid, maybe even good with a bit of rain, especially when I've got a rain setup on. So I just need to see how that's gonna work out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well said. I look forward to it, and hopefully it can go well for you there. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. And we move on to Zingy. Zingy, it wasn't looking good, bruv, in qualifying. Last place, but it didn't matter in the end. Were you expecting a P1 when you started the Grand Prix?
Listen, see when you're a 6-time champion, like I am, and you start from last, anything's possible, Aaron. I knew that the win was possible because I knew that the top 6 wouldn't break away. And I thought, well, if I get up there quick enough and I don't get held up by the other people who would eventually fall away, I was able to eventually catch up and win with the help of Niffle, of course. He's always there to help me, and thankfully it was. Otherwise, I don't think it would have been easy, especially on that different strategy. but yeah, it was the first few laps were a bit difficult because of the safety car, which gave me less time to overtake people before the pit stops happened, which could have been detrimental, but it was fine. And then after the safety car, I made a few more moves and stuck behind Haish, who had not incredible pace, but it was decent enough to just stay behind him. I had 2 warnings as well, so I really didn't want a chance overtaking him and doing my pace in case I had a penalty. So yeah, it was tricky because obviously that's the case. And over the last laps, everyone caught up and it was kind of a mess. So whatever happened back there, I don't know. I was too far ahead, but thankfully I was enough to the point where I wasn't involved in any incidents. So yeah, I'm happy, of course, but a bit upset for my teammate to finish P4 in a race that he could have got P2 in.
Yeah, it's not great in that regard for the team, of course. I believe you still lead the team's championship, however, and of course you with that win. I think you win, or you lead the drivers' championship, so it didn't take you long to get back to that spot. So well done there. It was a very kind of strategic race from the mid part, and you played it very well all the way to the end. So well done. You deserve that one. Obviously, certain few things happened, but it is what it is, and that's how it goes. So really well done. Singapore should only go uphill around that circuit for you. Do you think you can do well there? I think I know what the answer will be.
I don't need to answer this question. You already know the answer.
Okay, I'm going to ask instead. Would you look for wet weather, or would you prefer it to be dry?
Oh, I would honestly love nothing more than a full wet race the whole way through.
Okay.
Because I think in that situation I am untouchable, which seems a bit egotistical, but I do think that in those full wet conditions are in Singapore, we've seen it before, how quick it can be. I think if it does happen, I'll be almost guaranteed to win just because of how potent I'll be around there.
Fair enough. Well, as a spectator, I hope that's not the case, because I'd rather it to be a bit closer. But for your sake, I hope it goes the way you want it to be. Thank you very much, Singy. Really well done today. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Aaron.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much. Whoa! Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow for practice 3 and for qualifying for the watch-alongs of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We'll see you for the F1.5 Championship around Spain. Have a good one and good night.